At the fucking desk we record these things on, by the way, he has coasters with I guess they're dogs next to beer on them, which, as far as I can tell, are Sam's two core values: dogs and beer. I don't know if you really have a moral philosophy, as far as I can tell, or
Dogs, beer, lots of black pepper on things.
lots of black pepper. Have you tried putting black pepper in your beer or on your dog?
All right, so here's the thing. I'm betting that there is some sort of beer out there that was brewed with black peppercorns in there. Beer's fun like that. You can do cool shit with it.
That's fair. I don't know. I think guys like you sort of assume that dogs are on our side, and I'm not fucking convinced. I think that despite all the breeding, they might have their own agenda kicking about.
Sausages.
I mean, yes.
I mean, like here's the thing. I don't disagree with you, but like you're gonna be disappointed by the complexity of this agenda, of which there is little.
So this isn't going to be an instrumentality riff, is it? It's just going to be the word sausages circled 3 times, underlined. There's a little star next to it.
Their main plan, Dennard, is when they see another dog to be like, hey, 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 until they can't see him anymore.
I know, seems kind of nefarious to me.
And then
would you trust someone
the next time they see a dog, they're going to be like, hey, 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 until they can't see him anymore. And you'd never guess what they're going to plan on doing the next time they see a dog.
Let's see. I think
they're going to fuck it this time. This time they're going to fuck it.
You see, this is why I don't fucking trust them, because they don't ask, hey, is that dog into it? They just sort of leap into action. And I think we have words for that in Human Town, but...
Well, no, it's oddly comforting, right? Because the idea of consent is such a human idea, right? But it shows how far we've come.
Fair, but I don't know, having the repressed murder monster kicking in the background, like, I guess we've nerfed their intelligence to such a degree.
That's the cat. The cats still murder. They just do that, like, every day. You look at a list of, like, the deadliest predators in the world by the numbers, house cats. They top the list every time.
Are they tripping old ladies in their fucking home?
I mean, like, think about it.
This is like Shadow of the fucking Colossus here.
There's so much shit around for them to kill. Like, you got bugs, you have mice, you have cockroaches. I guess that's a bug. You have, all of this stuff. Birds sometimes, I guess. Like, the ones that are allowed outdoors and they're really crafty. House cats kill things.
You want your fucking pet to defend you? Don't you want the well-heeled, well-oiled killing machine, keeps itself fresh, ready for action when action comes through? Or do you want your dog, who, aside from the more predatory breeds, when trouble goes down, will inspect the flavor of their ball? Sometimes they will play with your intruder.
I do remember our house got robbed once. Back in our hometown. That'd be telling people listen to us. And Gus was there the whole time. Did not put up a fight at all.
Shit.
Probably didn't even notice that the guy was there. If anything, probably came up. It's like, hi, hello.
Wow, so that's his way of earning his fucking kibble, I guess.
Well, because I don't look for dogs as a, defender of my home. They're friends.
That's why I think the sort of generic insult towards the police of calling them the dogs of the state is effective on levels that people don't really realize. Because they're thinking like vicious attack dogs or oppression, but dogs, I say, also captures a sort of spirit of ineptitude that inevitably infects the average police department.
I wish that they were more inept than vicious. Sometimes they are, not often enough.
Fair. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say that because my brother's on the police force. Hey, Jensen, you're inept. Man, you can really feel that antisocial paprika.
In my experience, paprika is very social. It plays well with basically any other spice.
In my experience, I know how to cook 3 complex dishes, and they are pretty much all on mechanical pilot from... If you wrote down how certain technologies worked and the world ended and they're working off that scroll to operate laptops, like the druids just mechanically imitating a process they assume is magical, that is what my cooking is like, and it works. But I can't tell you how fucking MS-DOS prompts work, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, with the whole dogs of the police thing and technology, I'm going to super awkwardly segue to Weeaboo Hell, show 1 of the episode. This one's called, I like this title, ID, invaded.
I think it's id. It invaded.
Well, you wanna spit on my face?
Oh,
You wanna kneecap me a little more?
Dropping that in conversation with people the last couple days.
I've only been talking to a few people I respect, a few days.
It's like having a friend, you've known, or no, like a coworker you've known for months, and you've been calling them like Dave or something like that, and their real name is like Clint, except they were too polite to correct you.
Here's a mini story before we get into the fucking episode proper, by the way. So there's the whole online expression original poster, OP or OP.
OP. It's OP. I don't know anyone who's ever pronounced it OP.
You know one person pronounced it
I know
OP
one
because
person
it
who
came up
pronounced it
once.
because
I said OP, and you acted like I just confessed to my love of just fisting horses for recreational purposes. Not even sexual, just like, to get a good arm workout in is the fucking treatment I got from this fuck about that.
I mean, like, where else are you supposed to get a forearm pump? It's such a hard place to exercise.
Flares,
although, like,
man.
hold on.
You gotta do flares.
I'm doing it right now. I think it's more of like a lat exercise now that I'm thinking about it.
Sam, I really have to say, you really specialize in the visual gags in this fucking podcast.
Alas.
All right, so id invaded. If you're a zero punctuation person, I don't know, throw the fucking throw up sound there. Though. I don't know. I'm not against the semicolon. That's right. Shots fired. We're taking a stand. I'm taking a stand for creative people everywhere.
Id invade. Yeah, I'm not particularly bothered by semicolons, but also I'm not really just getting paid to be bothered by semicolons.
That's fair. Give me a good 20 an hour, and I can be pissed about any punctuation mark. Like,
absolutely. I'll take. Here's the thing. Wait, we meant
colon, not
colon,
semicolon. I know. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna try to edit out the word semi
God
or
damn
just
it.
include this little chunk where we trip on our own dick. But all right, so this show, it's I guess simplest description.
It's smarter than Darwin's Game, dumber than Psycho-Pass. It's like it occupies that little territory right there.
And this thing is very. I don't know if it's influence or just the force of trends. I'm just gonna say influence because I have a very narrow media world, and I like to think there are lines I can draw. But it's very influenced by the sort of Psycho-Pass mold. To be specific, this is a sci-fi, like police procedural / mystery / what have you, where we got 6 episodes deep.
5.
I was trying to make it seem proper. The last one was a 2-parter. We could extrapolate. Okay, we're 5 episodes deep.
I mean, there's 10 episodes now. I'm pretty sure. I feel like they probably get the guy.
There's a chance. I don't know, how many mysteries just end with the criminal they never even figure out who it is. It just ends.
Memories of Murder, directed by Bong Joon-ho, who, that Parasite, that was him. One of my favorite fucking serial killer movies, and the guy never even shows up on screen.
That's right, everyone. Weeaboo Hell is international. American media, Korean media. There actually is American media later in the episode.
Yes.
But yeah, focus on, okay. It invaded. Id.
Well, he kind of shows up for a second, but like really out of focus in the background. It's cool. It was a really fucking scary scene. Memories of Murder. Everyone should watch Memories of Murder. You heard it here.
Let's zoom in on this show. I thought this show had a pretty creative spirit, I thought. It had a spark to it.
Yes, it had a very uniquely anime premise. One of the things I've often said that I love about anime is that they can come up with just a wild-ass premise, and sometimes they can deliver on it, and this time I think they mostly did.
Oh, yeah, I'd say they mostly did. Like, it descends into silliness a lot, but...
A little bit, yes.
But, I don't know, it's on the wavelength of... I need an example that's slightly smarter than SVU. Okay, way smarter than SVU.
Oh, yeah, like way the
fuck smarter. Like, that would be doing this show a disservice to compare it to fucking SVU. But the reason that SVU comes up is
Criminal Minds.
Criminal Minds, okay.
There we go.
It's like Criminal Minds. Serial killers come up a fuck ton. The concepts behind the killers are often fucking silly. And the way that they chase these killers, and this is the creative hook, it works in my opinion. They have a phlebotomy device.
A murder detecting machine.
A murder detecting machine is one thing. That's fucking stupid.
They fold it in front of them like a Geiger counter. It's great.
Yeah.
Ooh, there was murder here.
I would compare it more to one of those handheld fucking treasure detectors that you walk alongside the fucking beach with.
Yes.
But the interesting and better sci-fi concept that they have in this fucking show
is because of the murder detector machine. They have
a machine that basically lets someone project themselves into this sort of abstract world where they can collect information on the case.
It's kind of the mind of the serial killer, but kind of not. It's
like
sort
based
of,
on impressions of the serial killer's mind.
I think the way, because it's never, it is sort of explained, but it's also sort of left for you to interpret. Is I'm pretty sure the murder particles, and I'm only kind of paraphrasing.
The
right?
specific phrasing is cognition particles, and I almost turned it off at that point.
Because it's so fucking dumb and so fucking not real. The cognition particles, right, that are left behind the scenes of crimes, right, can be used, I guess, by this sort of Minority Report machine type thing as a backdoor into the minds of the killers that these cognition particles were shed by or belong to, right? Mm-hmm. And each of them has their own sort of map.
Yeah, their own map. Each one has sort of a physics gimmick or a visual gimmick.
Yeah,
I say the word gimmick, but I actually like it a lot.
The idea is that every single, killer that they go after, right, has a sort of visual representation of their psychosis present in their mind, right? Which takes the form of, at one point, it was a whole bunch of disjointed, pieces of a town just kind of floating around in empty space. In another case, it was a street full of burning buildings that are actively blowing the fuck up.
And it's usually not arbitrary. Like, sometimes the logic is a leap, but it tends to tie back in some kind of perceptible way to how they're going to piece this case together. Some of these cases they piece together. Oh, the one thing I forgot to mention. The detective that goes into this world, and it's a game we don't even do the first time, because if you watch him go through it every time, it might get kind of fucking boring, but he wakes up with no memory that he is a detective, or any of that. He has to figure out
or what he was sent here to do, or what even all of this is. But the idea is that because he's so good, he figures it out pretty quickly every time.
Which works and doesn't work in the first episode, in that sometimes you feel like, okay, come on, roll it along here, I get it, he's piecing the thing together. But it also, it's definitely one of the more media of the end media reses I've seen, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, this first episode, I honestly almost feel like if you haven't watched this show yet, then we just kind of ruined the fun little surprise that you sort of come in on. All right, sorry. Probably should have put a spoiler warning before this, but it's too late now.
I think it's innate to reviews themselves, though, right?
Like, I guess. I see a whole lot of people doing it on YouTube, that sort of thing.
Okay, maybe I'll jackknife something in earlier. If there's not a spoiler warning at the start of this episode, it means that Dennard doesn't love you.
So there's not going to be a spoiler warning at the beginning of this episode.
Well, thanks for the spoiler for that. Well, I guess they would have already gone past that. Oh, no, time travel.
Oh, now
thing.
We're getting recursive.
All right, walking past that, machine gunning ahead, before I start drawing that fucking diagram of Back to the Future plot lines and the whole thing doesn't fucking work, but whatever. Why does he want to fuck his mom? Whatever. Okay. So the first serial killer we get, Whole Man.
Whole Man's
gimmick is that at one point, he tried to kill himself by drilling through the skull with a power drill, and it didn't take.
For some reason, this gave him a two-face scar, instead of just, like a hole.
Yeah, that's a fucking unanswered question. But yeah, his amateur trepanning.
I do not think that they plan on answering this question, by the way. It's just they came up with the character design first and the backstory second. That's my theory. I'm sticking with it.
I could follow that, but yeah.
And he's got this scar on his face. It's huge.
Sometimes I really do think they're making
up such good shit.
A lot of this show as it fucking goes along.
To a degree. I think there's some of it that they wrote ahead and some of it that they definitely did not.
Oh, sorry. When it comes to trepanning, man, he's convinced he has to share the insight of this whole with the world.
And he keeps talking about holes.
Yeah, he mostly has hole-based dialogue. Like, it's like talking to a fraternity member in a way. Like, it is monomaniacal, and I guess I won't ride the full spoiler train, but I found him very amusing, but I admired the show's way of using its device to get to him.
How the fuck did they do that again?
We can leave some mystery for the mystery show, but it uses sort of the gimmick of his like world physics, and there's a lot of very video gamey logic, which I don't know, that's familiar to me, and I'm 28, so I guess that's just the new normal now. So
I think all anime has video gamey logic to it nowadays. Like this is
just what we are now.
There's been 9 years now of this setting in, for
Yeah.
better or for worse. But hey, it's not isekai. Not really.
It is not isekai.
Um,
Though, ironically, it relies heavily on someone being thrown into another world with no context, but it's different.
It's different. No, it's like it's far more. Yeah, it's far more. Again, minority runner.
Minority runner, yes, which once again the whole echoes of Psychopaths, including there is a character that is a scrappy young female detective slowly being confronted with corrupt world.
The corrupt world and the system that she has put her trust in for some reason.
As of episode 5, it seems to be less a corrupt system and more just the population becoming. I think it has to be at least 10% serial killers.
I know. Oh yeah, no. I was excited to get to this because it's fucking great. Because if you think about it, right? This show is just so fucking full of serial killers. It's like a goddamn fucking circus out there, and you just sort of have to imagine what kind of world they happen to be living in, and you kind of get glimpses of it, and it's not too amazingly different from the world we live in today. So I do not know if they bother to do too much world building around this, but there's like dozens of them, and they're all in Japan. They all seem to be in the greater Tokyo area.
The density of serial killers is if you ask someone what their job is, and they said air traffic controller, that is the number of serial killers per capita that are in this fucking world. Like, everything you need to keep JetBlue going, they are running around, killing people with different fucking gimmicks.
Oh, and they've got such a silly fucking name, too. Like, what was it, like the Disseminator or something? No, it wasn't that. It was
there's the Perforator.
The Perforator, there we go. That's Drill Guy. Whole guy, his name was the Perforator.
Yeah, and then there was the Grave Digger, who has a gimmick of... Do you guys like Kill Bill? Whatever. If you're watching my podcast, you have to watch Kill Bill. Fuck anime, watch Kill Bill. So
yeah, fuck anime. If you watch anime, fuck you.
So the Grave Digger's gimmick is basically doing the thing Buck did to Beatrix Kiddo.
Or if you saw that Ryan Reynolds film,
which I didn't.
Nor did I. But it was like the Beatrix Kiddo thing that Buck did, except the entire movie was that. Also, he died. Now you don't have to watch a Ryan Reynolds film.
Is he Weeaboo Hell canceled?
No one involved in the production of Green Lantern gets any forgiveness.
Here's a little backstory on that one, people. Mr. Lagow here, who I am watching seethe from an interesting angle. His favorite, I'd say, comic book panel thing that didn't come out of the Weeaboo spectrum might be Geoff Johns and Company's Green Lantern runs.
It's up there. These days, I think it probably has been knocked out of the top spot, but it's up there. At the time, in 2011, it was occupying the top spot.
Yeah, so he vibrates along that frequency. Then, I don't know who directed the Green Lantern film, but Ryan Reynolds starred in it.
Campbell is the guy's name. Here's the thing, he did Casino Royale, my favorite Bond film, right?
Well, I don't know. Never underestimate the studio's ability to fuck up a good thing.
Here's the thing, he's a studio guy. He's a studio guy. They hired him because they wanted their own Iron Man. So they basically shoved a script at his face and said, make Iron Man, except you make Iron Man.
Why isn't this Iron Man yet?
And then he kind of did what they told him to do, and it didn't work because... DC Films or Warner Brothers or whatever really only know how to chase the echoes of a good idea rather than come up with their own.
Yep. So anyway, the acting centerpiece of this fucking version of Green Lantern was a
podcast.
Senor Ryan Reynolds.
Okay,
motherfucker, this podcast is an hour long. Give me 4 minutes to talk about whatever.
Go for. Yeah.
I talked about a mall in Japan for 10. So yeah, Ryan Reynolds. I guess he's Weeaboo Hell canceled.
I didn't like the Deadpool films either, but that's mostly just because I don't like Deadpool very much. Yeah. It wasn't really his fault that I didn't like him in it because I was not exactly rooting for that movie.
Your weakness in terms of media consumption, you really cannot process a certain wavelength of humor where I guess they are laughing at the mode itself. I guess it's...
Which is weird because I love Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, we're same energy, right?
It's a very similar energy. For some reason, it works for one and doesn't for the other.
Speaking of laughter and serial killer gimmicks within ID Invaded. That's right. Doubling down. It's 2020. When you're wrong, you plant yourself by the tree of fucking freedom and say, this is how it works. So yeah. Speaking of serial...
You want to try again?
Yeah, okay. Speaking of serial killer gimmicks in fucking Id Invaded, there's one we have to talk about.
Oh man, there's alluded to a killer
who is maybe one of the greatest things I've heard of in my life.
I don't know how no one has ever come up with this before because it's so fucking perfect.
This guy's called the Challenger, and he makes you fight him.
He just goes up, he just goes into your house, and he says, here's how it's going to be.
He goes to your house and it says, listen here, brother. This year at SummerSlam, you're going down to the ground 6 feet deep.
I mean it.
And Sam can't help but visualize.
It's if Scott Steiner didn't have wrestling. Like, this is what would have happened to him if he had not had a creative outlet. It's just like, this Taker once tried to test me, Clarice. I just deliver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Why don't you go and find your balls so I can tear them off?
You son of a bitch!
I'm on steroids, baby. You're gonna wish you were when I tear off your fucking arms and play bongos on your head. I think that's a rock line from Fast and Furious. Whatever. You get the wavelength. It is fucking magic.
I want to see this guy. I want this guy to be the main antagonist of this show because he's like, it's explained that he is a posthumous character. The reason that the main character, right? Oh, the main character is also in jail too. That's that's a thing. He was a detective. And he's in jail now, right?
Which
and it's heavily implied that he is in jail because he killed the Challenger. Why would you do that? This is the fucking goose that laid the golden egg.
Oh, man. Okay. I haven't seen the rest of the show yet. I better get that flashback. I'm not usually a flashback on a lot of memes. Anime may have overplayed its hands on the flashback as a device. But give me my motherfucking Challenger flashback.
I want it so fucking bad. I want him to be Scott Steiner. I know he won't, but I want it so bad.
Someone needs to get F5'd. That is so great. That's so great. So, all right. So I gotta talk about this show's weakness, which is murder detection device.
Just fucking dust for prints, asshole. I can't imagine how many billions of dollars this technology costs. Like you know how hard it is. The work is almost done for you, right? Because you've got all of these fucking IT companies. You've got all these ISPs and shit, right? You've got Verizon. You have Google. All of these things that track your location. Just because it benefits them, because they can make money off of it, making your job as a detective so much fucking easier. It's almost impossible in, the year of our Lord 2020 to be a serial killer anymore. It's so fucking easy to find them.
Yeah, it's like, when they're making the last fucking Grand Theft Auto game, the developers have interview after interview talking about how they have to sort of work around, actually this was for GTA 4, not 5, but have to work around how much just harder it is to be a criminal flat out period in this epoch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like every time you murder another person, the odds of your getting caught increase exponentially, like by a factor of how many murders you've committed. One murder, right? Maybe you can get away with that. 2 murders, your chances are now halved. And that's the highball estimate.
And
at
third, just start speed dialing your lawyer. Just put your hands on the fucking table so you don't look like you have a gun when the cops come in.
They have already found you. They're already coming for you. It's over already. They did not need to spend several $1 billion. And
right
again,
now,
that's my lowball estimate for this
SWAT
technology.
guy is getting a boosty up from his favorite co-SWAT guy to peer through the window and see where you're trying to take cover behind.
And I know I'm nitpicking, right? I know I'm being kind of a douchebag. But
here's why this nitpick matters in my fucking book. It's because it sort of impacts some of the character writing because this almighty technology takes up so much space. Like things like where they can just detect where the murder happened and when. I'm fine with the recreate computer world, but they're fucking handle things. But the detectives sometimes suck so much. It's kind of incredible. Our lead girl endangers herself once every 15 minutes. After the first time,
I thought she was. They write her in such a way which is seems to have absolutely no regard for her own well-being, right? Almost like a naive, almost childlike disregard for her own well-being. And, she's drawn to be really short and kind of like girlish looking. I was absolutely certain she was 14 or whatever, and that was just like a fucking anime thing. It's just, yeah, okay, there's a 14-year-old. It's anime.
It's like, okay, cool,
like,
child prodigy, I'll rock with it. Whatever.
I've watched Case Closed before, whatever. No, she explicitly states her age to be 23 a few episodes in, and I think I actually just yelled "fuck you" at the screen.
But if you're a 23 or older and you're not in the double FBI by now, what are you really doing with your life? Like,
I think we took a couple minutes to work out if a 23-year-old could plausibly find themselves in, the whatever the Japanese version of the FBI. Oh God, I was going to say Future Crimes Unit. I'm pretty sure that is just Minority Report. The Weeaboo device gimmick.
So what we figured out,
detail.
So what we just sort of lowballed is sometimes they do have those internships where you just go straight into the NSA out of college. If you're like a comp sci or linguistics guy.
I'm not really sure how old Edward Snowden was when they snapped him up. So I don't know. Maybe it was. You know what? Fine. I'll buy this. I will even if it does skew a little bit on the younger side, I can suspend my disbelief for this. Whatever.
Yeah.
But then you have her like wandering off when she knows there's a serial killer about. I don't think she's unarmed.
The first time it didn't fucking matter because she just got planted by a car.
Okay. The people who make media need to realize that when people get hit by cars, it's really fucking funny.
Yeah, it's just like an object entering out of frame at high speed. And causing slapstick action to
it's
occur.
Absolutely tragic, right? If someone gets hit by a car and dies in real life, right? Complete tragedy. Really, really sad when that happens. And every single fucking time I have seen someone get hit by a car in media, I don't know what it is. It's never not been funny.
It puts a smile in my fucking heart.
I think at this point, I almost unconsciously associate it with Isekai too. Just, because...
yeah, I remember the age of the Isekai truck meme and all that.
I think someone got hit by a car in Superbad once, and it was great.
Oh, that's a fun-ass movie.
Oh, I missed that, but I haven't seen that in a while. I don't think the motives of the main characters aged particularly well. But the banter was really funny.
The banter was really funny. Almost as funny as the existence of the Challenger. They have this one figure, John Walker, who...
There's a walking Haruki Murakami reference.
He is a walking Haruki Murakami
These guys
reference.
Are big on Haruki Murakami. Holy shit. Whoever did the manga, or if this is an anime original, I think it's an anime original, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, this guy fucking loves Haruki Murakami. It's all over the place.
Yeah, they are super into it, and... It turns out you can get through 2 literary degrees and have never read Haruki Murakami, and I just sit here sort of questioning what I've done, I'm doing, what I do next.
The only way that it is not just an abstract adaptation of Haruki Murakami's works is that the main character has not entered the dream world and immediately gotten a blowjob yet. Mm-hmm. And if you read Haruki Murakami, you were hopefully laughing at that joke right now.
We were throwing out he's a popular author. It's not 2%. We're throwing out a 4%er.
Okay.
This show's intentionally most amusing feature is that when you die in the Reconstruction world...
You die in real life.
No, you do not die in real life. And they just fucking... I mean, the gag has been done before and all you need is kill or even in fucking big order. But some things are evergreen and sometimes just while he's trying to figure something out, just watching his death montages. It's entertaining. You have the nice character drama frame of, okay, I'm going to figure out the situation, watch him progress to it. It's not like watching someone play fucking Bloodborne for the first time, and eventually they start learning to dodge.
I guess Fate Zero is kind of like that. Like, he keeps dying, but he remembers everything, right, when he dies in Fate Zero. And in this, he does not remember anything. So that's the...
Oh, yeah, but he's the great detective.
But he's the great detective. And the subtitles, right, we are given... Great detective is not made a proper noun. I think it is meant to be a proper noun, though.
I think you're right on that one.
Like it is just a
flavor I
gimmick
get from it.
that exists within this universe. It's a function of this universe, rather, I guess.
Yeah, it's like being a conductor or code monkey or White House aide. But yeah, overall, ID Invaded gets a recommendation from me. It's we didn't actually go over the animation much. It's a good looking show on the whole, I think.
Oh yeah, like it looks fine.
Yeah, it looks fine.
It looks fine. There's nothing particularly inventive about the art style. The animation is it's fine. There's a whole bunch of digital effects that are kind of fun.
Yeah.
You know, whenever they go into Weeaboo world.
Yeah. I think they thought they were making a very heady series. It comes out as pulpy fun.
It's fun, certainly. I would not call this. Is it an intelligent series?
I'm gonna steal something that you said during our viewing of this and pretend I came up with it. This is a show whose reach outpaces its grasp mentally.
Yes, quite a bit at times, and only subtly at other times. It's got a whole lot on its mind. I will give it that.
It's almost a tradition on Weeaboo Hell at this point where when you try...
When you try, no, absolutely. And I absolutely really
Yeah.
respect this show, because this show is a lot of things, and you know the thing that it is not is cynical. And I hate cynical media.
Yeah,
I hate cynical, lazy shit. And this is not cynical, and it's not lazy. It's definitely not shit. I rate it good.
Yeah, if this was a writer's room product instead of an adaptation, I could really imagine a lot of conversation starting with "What if we?"
Yeah,
and I always like that. You
yeah,
know?
no, it's quite imaginative in that way.
Overall, this gets a recommendation for us. I mean, there's a lot of shit. You can watch other shit, but I don't know. This won't infuriate you. No one tries to fuck their sister.
No one tries to fuck their sister. That's like depressingly.
That's where the line is.
It's depressing that I have to. It's depressing that recommends the show.
But yeah, this is a sister fucking free zone. Sisters can walk around without fear of molestation in the most literal sense.
However, daughters,
they
get to face the Big Papa.
They get to face the Big Papa. Yeah. If you're a daughter in this world, you better, I don't know, knuck if you buck, I guess.
You better tell Diamond to his face they're gonna suck shit so they don't have the balls to face me.
Oh, man.
Fun fact, Scott Steiner got beaten up by Diamond Dallas Page for saying that. That was an unscripted promo that he gave in the dying days
they
of
went right
Nitro.
at it afterwards.
Backstage.
I think Scott Steiner got the better in that fight.
Because Scott Steiner is a fucking cartoon character. Look at him.
Cartoon character, steroid monster is more relevant point.
Oh, so here's the thing. I've gone my entire, not life. I've known who Scott Steiner is for, a number of years now, right? And I've gone that entire time thinking that the dude's probably a total chud. Not exactly. He delivered a promo when he delivered a promo at some point where he declared that they should stop building a wall for Mexico to keep the Mexicans out. They should build a wall up in Canada to keep the fucking Canadians out. Cutting a promo on, I don't know, a heart or something, I'm sure.
That's a good question. He's in Impact right now, right?
I think he's in Impact.
No,
he
NWA.
has been in Impact. I think he's with NWA these days.
That's a fun show. So to appreciate Weeaboo Hell, I guess you have to, just watch anime, read translated Japanese literature, watch most wrestling shows.
Or if you can't find the time, and that's understandable, just watch supercuts of Scott Steiner promos on YouTube.
Or just learn to enjoy the dulcet tones of my voice.
Not mine, though.
Oh man, you want to
I'm surprised that any of you people listen to this show. You have to listen to me.
Are you gonna go through the rest of this episode like a fucking Woody Allen impersonation? Because it's an option. Just know it's a very intentional choice.
I feel very, very strongly about this.
We feel very, very strongly about this next show. I guess before we go into it, we should go into Sam Lago's thesis on the nature of the word anime at this point.
It's not limited to Japanese animation. Honestly, I'm kind of paraphrasing Jeff Thu because he convinced me of this, but now anime is more of a larger than a genre, smaller than a medium, kind of a movement at this point. Like I would consider.
If you went to art school, I think the term would be aesthetic movement.
An aesthetic? Yeah, okay. It's more of an aesthetic movement. Sort of. It's less easy to define anime than it is to sort of see. It's kind of it's like porn, when you see it. Such to the point where I would consider, a show like Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? Obviously, that is an anime right there, right?
I would follow yonder thesis.
Cool. I would also argue that Steven Universe is an anime. While it does not quite have all of the the aesthetic that we associate with anime in common, right? It is very much an anime kind of story. It has a number of those tropes, kind of flying around, though.
So the heart of this argument, tell me if I'm getting this one fucking wrong, is that basically if you're in the sort of lineage of ideas there.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. Fair enough. So yeah, we're going to talk about a show that fucking whips ass. It's called Castlevania.
It came back for its 3rd season a couple days ago. We literally just now just binged half of it. It would have been the whole thing, but the night, we don't have all night, unfortunately.
I haven't gotten myself fired yet. I have some savings. I should just get myself fired.
Just get fired.
Just get fired. It's that simple. We could knock out 2 episodes a week. Have you more stories out there? By the way, read Own Goal by Dennard Dayle, next issue of Clark's World. But okay, let's make this about Castlevania. So, I have a minor bias. When I get home, there's a little statue of author Warren Ellis that I bow towards 3 times a day. And then I break the head off the statue and scream, "Give me your secrets. Give me your secrets. Why do you hide from me?" And then I curl up into a little ball and I go to sleep until the next day when I make a new statue of Warren Ellis. Photorealistic accuracy. And the prog cycle begins anew.
I like him too.
Sam likes him too. So yeah,
I think he is the best comic book writer of all time. And yeah, hot take, I think he is actually a little bit better than Alan Moore. Not by a ton, but I think he likes the thing, right, more than Alan Moore does, and that has made his work all the better.
Alan Moore is wonderful. Mm-hmm. When they have these top X dialogues, consistency always comes in.
Oh, yeah.
And Alan Moore has a story that ends in a fish orgy. So Ellis will take the consistency point. That being said, Warren Ellis is the head writer or exclusive writer, whatever. The way that it's described, it seems like he just has the book. So whatever.
Yeah, I think he has the book. We'll call it that.
Central writing force behind Castlevania, which is an adaptation, yes, of the video game series of the same name, which
specifically was the 3rd one.
Yeah, specifically the 3rd one, though. Interestingly, the creature designs just sort of take their pick of shit, which is fun.
I think he played all of it, or at least the art team. We're not going to give Warren Ellis the entire credit here because production of stuff is a team effort at all times.
Yeah, dozens and dozens of nerds were involved in the creation of this project.
The visual look of this product, it's very, very clear that they played most of these games. The first thing that kind of struck me about Castlevania, besides the fact that it was good, right? Because that was a big surprise right there, is that it manages to be good despite being a pretty direct adaptation. My whole thought about video game adaptations, right, is that if you're going to adapt the video game, right, then get yourself sort of familiar with the world that that video game exists in, and then tell a story in that world, right? Because the plots of video games are ultimately pretty linear and pretty given to, you go to this thing, you do the thing, you go to that thing, and then you do the thing, and then you go to that thing, point C there, right, doing things along the way, right? And it just is not very much, it's not given to a narrative where it's all presented to you rather than you interact with it, right? But with some tweaks, right, by having half of it be a British sitcom, they more or less seem to, it's been fucking years since I've played it, they more or less seem to directly adapt the plot of Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse.
It's strikingly,
the new season is,
fundamental.
Not that, because they kind of ran out of Dracula's Curse to adapt after the end of the second season.
Yeah, they're either on track to a game I haven't played in the series or just doing their own thing now.
I think a couple of different games. I think that's what they're doing now. Because, I think Hector he's the main character of one of these spin-off sequels to Castlevania 3.
It's unfortunate we'll never get Dawn of Sorrow because that would require them to age the storyline far past every relevant character being dead.
I like Trevor.
Trevor is fantastic.
Trevor has kind of had it.
Yeah, when it comes to this series' relationship with its source material, and video game adaptations have a long history of being terrible, so I'm surprised they took this attitude. I would, in my heathen heart, describe its attitude as Protestant in that there is a very literal attachment to the source material, and then they add a bunch of their own shit,
Okay.
and it totally works. Like, as you said, they attach a British sitcom. There's also like a ancient politics type show weaved in there. Any of you watch Rome? Did you enjoy Rome? A lot of Rome is in there.
I liked Rome. I think
show.
Rome was more than just the porn that they accused it of being.
Oh yeah. Once again, that's another thing where I know it when I see it. And first off, it clearly cannot be porn because American porn is in a much more deviant place than Rome was. What is happening?
Like they bathing naked in cow's blood, and it's like, yeah, but is it really that fucked up?
Is it really, really that fucked up? Man, 3 seasons deep. Do we just talk about the things do we have to like set the baseline? Do we have to
let's give him the not the entire story up to now, but the Castlevania, the show Castlevania, because if I said Castlevania just in abstract is a show, no. Castlevania, the show, is a story kind of about Trevor Belmont, right? The last of the Belmonts, at least of this era. Spoiler alert, there will be more. There's always more.
The Belmonts do not believe in condom use.
They do not, I am afraid. And he is out on a quest to kill Dracula. Dracula is out on a quest to kill all humans.
I dig it.
As the church had found and executed his mortal wife. Also on a quest to kill Dracula is his son by that wife, Alucard, played by the dude who was Gaius Baltar in Battlestar Galactica. That's fun. I like to see that he's still getting work. He was cool.
Yeah.
Joining them is Sypha, whose last name I've never been able to encode, and man, does she do most of the heavy lifting on that team. Just like you bring up, like it's fucking like you play D&D, right? If you play D&D, right, after a certain level, no, wizard wins always.
Yeah, and she has really breached that fucking season 3 Katara threshold, but also she gets firebending. But Trevor and Alucard have nice narrative niches to follow. Whereas, I don't know, she's just there to fucking clean up
just
hit.
Fucking stack heads. Honest to God, the show has had, the finale, right, of the second season was, I want to say, one of the best action set pieces ever animated.
Oh yeah, they set it to this little iconic audio track from the game. Once again, I'm amazed that for a good video game show actually cares about its material. I always assumed that it would just go in its own direction if one of these things was ever good. But
no, they're always doing callbacks to the games. Like always.
The thing that's kind of interesting about this show is that it's essentially a high concept, action heavy, blood and guts version of different models of dealing with grief.
Yes.
And that is kind of crazy.
And it's all of the various different kinds of grief too, like dealing with, the death of a loved one or the death of God even. The loneliness of separation from one's family,
like the death of your own inner idealism.
Yeah, the death of one's innocence. It's a show about all of the various deaths that we die, right, as we go through life.
And the right and wrong way to deal with these systems.
With said things, yes.
Now, Trevor's coping okay as of season 3. He's having some trouble in 1.
Yeah, no, I think Trevor, right, resonates. He was a character designed to resonate with our generation because he's just drunk and tired all the time. Just all the time. Even when he's being productive, he's drunk and tired. Or if he's not drunk, he's hungover and tired. Mostly
he wants to enjoy himself, but every time he tries, he just thinks about climate change hanging over his shoulder and oh god, there's another fucking election happening. He has to deal with that shit too.
He's voiced pretty magnificently by Richard Armitage. Who I believe was the Red Dragon Killer on Hannibal.
By that man, a vampire horse.
Oh, he's so fucking good.
Yeah, there isn't really a clunker voice performance in the main cast. I liked that about this.
Especially not Peter Stormare as Godbrand from season 2.
Godbrand!
Oh man.
That was impersonation.
Here's this great thing about this show, right? Is that Castlevania has this very this entrenched kind of mood and aesthetic to it, and it's very melodramatic, and kind of this fun Japanese take on gothic horror and shit, right?
Yeah, I think symphonic metal meets community theater, which I guess is just symphonic metal.
Yeah. So there's that.
Shots fired.
And then you get that a whole lot, and then anytime there's a dialogue scene, you're reminded that this is written by Warren Ellis, and then it's back to the Castlevania aesthetic, and then comes right back to Warren Ellis, and you get this sort of fun cadence from it that I very much like. If you're not familiar with the work of Warren Ellis, I would call him, I don't know, like the Aaron Sorkin of comic books, except he's way more down with the euphoria. That's basically the entire thrust of his career.
Euphoric Castlevania is
unapologetically unafraid.
Every time the church appears in this narrative, a priest looks around the room and says, "I know the situation isn't fucked yet, and I'm here to make a difference." Which I enjoy a great deal.
Yes, and he also has this great way of having oddly kind of silly bits of dialogue appear.
Oh yeah, he definitely knows the exact amount of that stuff he can cram in without crossing that sort of bathos line.
It's a very kind of je ne sais quoi thing. It's very him. It's very hard to describe, but it almost feels kind of like not like a Simpsons gag really, but just people stumbling into a silly part of this conversation, I guess, is how I would describe it.
I think one reason it works out is that he tends to try to weave it into character beats.
Yeah.
Like the whole... There's a joke early on, we might name that fucking episode after it, where it's just Alucard sitting at a table. He's been talking to these dolls, a little gag to himself, and he says, "Oh my god, I am losing my mind." And, that's just fucking funny on its own, but also just relates, the experience he's going on through emotionally.
It has this way of being very, very subtly kind of heartfelt. It's kind to its characters in a way. I mean, it's very cruel to its characters in another sort of way, but
exceedingly to specifically just Hector, to whom
oh man, what a fucking
God's rectum just opens up above his head.
What a life.
And rains the fury of a Chipotle marathon upon him. And says, "You and your humans."
It's not like he did
sinful.
any more to deserve it than any other villain. This show is also mostly villains, which is interesting. Like, I want to say, out of the main cast, 60% of it could be called some sort of villain, or not. Maybe even 70% of it could be.
You could even describe the plot generally as bad people running interference on each other so much that we can run through. It's almost a moral statement.
Yeah, it's true. The second season of the show, the thrust of it just seems to be that the bad guys are all so busy sniping and plotting
yes.
Being evil at one another, that the good guys are allowed to sort of enact their good plans, not entirely unmolested, but such to the point where I think if they all had their eyes on the prize, then this wouldn't be so much of a problem.
Yeah, I think what we get from here is that the war between good and evil is a lot like a basketball game, and all the parts really have to be working together. You can't have your center forward trying to throw some free throws.
It's like a boxing match. One guy.
Imagine.
I can't do it again.
Imagine, if you will, that you're Dracula's Forge Master, getting the piss beaten out of you
by
in every
vampires.
episode of this fucking show. Oh.
Good God.
By the way, man, I know this guy's just Bloodborne hard ripped a lot from Castlevania, but boy, do I get some Bloodborne flashbacks going through this one.
Oh yeah, especially with all the fun monster designs in this show.
The fun monster designs, also just seeing priests up to bad shit and just mumbling, no, don't do it. And the church just looks at that button and their hand hovers above it, and then they mash that MF. They
until
both
it
like
breaks.
and subscribe. Yeah, the action is still very compellingly done in this show. I think we covered that, but
it's hard to say that much about it other than it's real fucking nice. But it has this, like I said, this is a very unapologetically video gamey kind of series, right?
Mm-hmm.
The action represented in it is very, very video gamey, right? And it works to the series' advantage in a way where it would just detract in something in a lesser work.
It's interesting, yeah. I mean, video gaming is usually a pretty direct burn in action choreography terms.
And I'm trying to think like what works about it so well. I think it's because they don't really belabor it too much. It's just like, yeah, Trevor uses a whip that makes people explode. It's fine. Go with it.
I'll put my action nerd hat on for a second. So a few things work for it. For one thing, there's a pretty consistent sense of geography. Like, think about that library fight in season 2 and how much effect that is a spiral staircase and etc. Fits into things. That makes a big difference in a lot of fight scenes and a lot of mediums. Like, think about how the difference between how much you enjoy, say, I don't know, let's go back to wrestling. You know, there's so many cage matches that don't need to be cage matches for any reason.
Yes.
Yeah,
especially when people interfere.
Yeah, it sort of avoids that syndrome. Or another example might be the hallways from Old Boy, or the hallways from not Ong Bak, the Raid 2.
The Raid 2, the Raid 1, Daredevil. Most good action scenes most of the best action scenes take place in hallways, I have found.
There's that Hall of Mirrors in a Game of Death. But yeah, the sense of geography is very good. They spent money on it, which is something that
it's nice to see that it looks good.
The two masters that's often hard to serve at the same time in action is having people doing cool stuff and have there be a sense of challenge or grounding.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a good job of avoiding just clean stomps most of the time.
Yes. Except that one fight that was really cool that you sort of got the sense that, like, yeah, they were totally cleaning up. Like, it was at the end of season 2 because, you know, they needed to get them over before they faced Dracula for the belt.
Yeah, they... If you don't watch anything else from Castlevania... I was going to say watch season 2 fight, but no. Watch Castlevania.
Just watch the whole thing.
You listen to an hour of my voice.
It's not that long at this point. Like, at this point, it'd be like committing to book 1 of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
You'll have a party. Anything you want to say to the people furiously tip-tapping at their keyboards over your expanded definition of anime? Because I feel like this is an ongoing argument across...
It is something of an ongoing argument. I don't know why people get so worked up about it.
Dude, form can inspire arguments that content cannot even touch.
I think it's because...
That's what I learned in college.
I think it's because people are very much attached to the idea that, like, something has to mean something. And, you know, like, when you open it up to all these things that are not, like, the traditional way that it is, then, you know, what does it even mean anymore? And I get that. That's the argument that gender essentialists make. But whatever. I'm not saying that if you don't think Avatar: The Last Airbender is anime, that you're a gender essentialist.
No, Sam is saying if you don't think Avatar is anime, you're a TERF. That's essentially what Sam is saying.
I do understand, right, the ethos here, but I do think that mediums evolve. Right? So what the definition of anime might have been in, say, 1985. Like 30-ish years ago, right? A little bit more than 30-ish years ago now, is going to be very different from what the definition of anime is in 2020, right? Because in, like, 2010, and there's examples even before this. I mean, like, Avatar: The Last Airbender, you know, that was like 2004 to 2008, I want to say. Big O, right, was a co-production of America and Japan. That was the late 90s, early 2000s.
Specifically the Big O revival that happened after the initial cancellation was a partnership between...
Yeah, that is correct.
Was it Toonami or Adult Swim? I think it was Adult Swim.
It was Adult Swim.
Between Adult Swim and Yonder Studio.
Yes, Adult Swim. Yes. Right, so...
They also had a manga revival to coincide with it. It was a nice touch.
Yeah, like Aeon Flux, anything animated by Madhouse. Hell, the fucking Boondocks you could consider anime, right? Because...
Wait, is there an excuse for me to talk about the Boondocks and Weeaboo Hell? Because I will hijack this entire fucking show and make it the Boondocks.
Let me finish here. Because of how huge anime has become amongst folks from outside of Japan,
Yeah.
it now, I think, has grown larger than just Japan, right? So work does not necessarily need to be from Japan to be considered anime, right? It just sort of needs to have that DNA present in it. And, like, it's not even art style because, like, Panty and Stocking does not look like anime. I mean, it kind of does a little bit.
If you've stroked out recently.
Yeah, I guess. Like, it looks more like a demented American cartoon. Yeah, no.
Which is, the whole idea. But
Yeah, that is, it's, I mean, yeah, Panty and Stocking visually has, more in common with various different Adult Swim shows than it does with,
by the way, that show
I
is
don't know, Yu Yu Hakusho.
weird enough and influential enough. I think we should maybe dedicate a fucking half ep to talking about that one at some point.
I'm gonna have to watch it over again, just like the entire fucking thing. It's only 12 episodes.
It's a party. It starts slow, but it's a party.
Yeah, I think that's where it gets its points taken off because, like, it took me a good third or so of the series for me to become invested in it, and, like, since it's only 12 episodes, like 3 or 4 count for a lot. But no, it was very good once it got going. Oh, here's the thing. Before we go for today, at one point early on in the pipeline, this was going to include this episode was going to include a segment on Isekai Quartet.
Yeah, we were going to try to watch Isekai Quartet, and if you had loaded a needle with laudanum mixed with morphine and just injected it right underneath my eyelid, you could not put me to sleep faster than I fell asleep during Isekai Quartet.
I wanted to be angry, right? I wanted to be angry.
Yeah,
I couldn't be angry. I was just too bored.
Yeah, they have taken me to a place beyond anger to where
I wanted to froth, right? I wanted to froth at, seeing this genre I hate, grow to the point where it now starts to react to itself, right? And I couldn't because it was just a bunch of, simply animated characters just kind of in a room making in jokes about the shows that they're from. And I didn't fucking care. And I love Konosuba. Here's, like, the weird fucking things. I absolutely fucking love Konosuba, right? I think it's an endlessly funny show.
Yeah, but this thing fucking just robs it of charm. Like, if it had just...
Except Darkness. It's hard to fuck up Darkness.
Okay, that gag is unscrollable,
like,
yeah.
Most like any gag on, both Konosuba or, oddly enough, Isekai Quartet involving the character Darkness, fucking knee slapper
but
every time.
The entire fucking Isekai Quartet thing, like, even the fucking character Aqua, who's usually a pretty simple translatable joke, my eyes would just start lolling to the back of my head, and I would think about just counting sheep and watching them jump over fences, and suddenly instead of 8 o'clock, it would be 6 o'clock the next day, and I need to get to work.
It's almost right. The show is predicated on the very easily sold premise of, okay, what if all these characters from your favorite shows talk to one another? What would they think of one another?
It turns out the answer is, who cares?
Who cares? Who gives a shit?
Fucking cares?
Not me.
You've done a glorified adaptation of those 4-panel comics they put in as a bonus at the end of serious manga.
Well, here's the fucking thing, is that Azumanga Daioh is an adaptation of those 4-panel comics that they put in at the end of serious manga, right? And it's one of the funniest anime ever produced. So it's not like you can't do this.
Sure. I remember old, like, Gundam volumes that come with one, and...
It's really weird having Gundam having jokes at the end of it, like lighthearted 4-panel jokes.
I remember they tried to make jokes about multiple characters, but always come back to fucking Domon Kashu because he's such a fucking...
What a fucking Chad.
High-key caricature of a human being, and yes, a fucking Chad is the term to describe Domon Kashu. And,
oh, fuck. We've gotten the entire episode, and I haven't been able to call anything a simp yet. That's, like, the new slang that I need to use before it becomes outdated.
Ooh, is there anyone in... spoilers for, id... Was it id Invaded? Yeah. Spoilers for id Invaded. The Gravedigger's assistant is kind of a simp.
Kind of a simp, yeah.
He's like an assistant serial killer because he wants to fuck.
It's interesting that way. Like, I like the idea of a decompressed serial killer, right?
Is that just what all the sort of... What's the word you have to use? Allosexual? Is that just what all our behavior looks like?
A lot of the time, yeah. I've once said that, an allosexual will be writing home from the awards ceremony where they received, their Nobel Prize in physics or whatever, and then will drunk text their ex.
Such is the way. So the Mandalorian, that is the way.
This is the way.
I was close. This is the way. Thank you all for listening. I'm Dennard Dayle.
I'm Sam Lagow.
You've been watching. Well, listening to. You've been listening to
Weeaboo Hell.
It's Weeaboo Hell. Industrial Q. By speaking of fucking industrial cues, have you heard that fucking song from Doom Eternal yet? Oh my god.
Is there like a new Doom game out?
Yeah, Doom Eternal. It's a direct sequel to the last one.
Oh, so it's not just called 2, it's called Doom Eternal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I guess makes sense since there's already like a Doom 2 and 3 and 4 out there fucking floating around.
C'est vrai.
But I don't know, it's called The Only Thing They Fear Is You, and you could treat endocrine problems with this thing because it will just inject testosterone directly into your body. Check the dish out.